Hello, it's Fenton here. Uh, you may have noticed, or you may not have noticed, that I have not uploaded a Monster Train video for a little while. I am taking a break, just because I want to. And today, the patch was dropped on the public test train, the beta, if you like, which got a whole bunch of stuff on it, mostly mod support. But there are also some gameplay changes, and I thought we could talk about those. I haven't really looked at them beyond just seeing that they're in the patch notes and I can click this and show you, but I haven't really read them. So let's go over how I feel about these things. Not a huge amount, so let's just have a quick look. A Halloween event, this will go live when the mod thing goes on October the 22nd, so get ready for that. Mods are cool. Sure. Colorblind accessibility option. Right, anyway, here comes the big stuff. Moved Bone Dog to his own event and removed him from the Potions event. Made Bone Dog more common. Cool. Good. I suppose. It's a good card to have, I guess. People's main complaint is that it's impossible to master because you have to find him, which is very rare, and then also win the run. Anyway. Changed Razor Sharp Edge yet again to try to prevent confusion. Went back to -2 heart, but now it also directly damages the unit always instead of lowering max health. Hopefully this will be the end of the confusion. So, what happened with the Razor Sharp Edge before is that if your unit had 10 health and you played Razor Sharp Edge at max health, it would go down to 8 of 8. If your unit had 10 max but was currently on 8 health because it had been damaged, it would go down to 8 of 8. Apparently now what will happen is if your unit is on 8 of 10 and you play this, it will go down to 6 of 8. That is a objective nerf, I suppose. But I suppose there are some edge cases, some razor sharp edge cases, where you could play this on an enemy and kill it that had already been damaged but was on like 2 health. I can't see that impacting things too much. I guess it would... I'd be interested to see how that interacts with Siren of the Sea, because Siren of the Sea would gain 2 as well. So if a Siren of the Sea was at max health, you wouldn't notice any difference. Well, maybe you would. It'd be interesting to see how that works anyway. It's a strict nerf, I suppose. Emberstone can now be applied to X-Cost cards. Wow, as if Emberstone wasn't already good. Emberstone can now be applied to X-Cost cards, presumably X+1, X+2, etc. That's crazy good. That's extremely good. That's bonkers. You could just put a +1 on Forever Consumed and you can play this for 30 at 0. That's very good. You were already giving it a plus. You were giving Ven and Mind Collapse like a +10 so that you could play them for 10 at 0. 10 damage at 0. And it's less likely you'd want to play Vent for 2 at 0 energy. I can see you playing Mind Collapse for 3 damage at 0 energy, but like Forever Consumed, that seems like extremely good. Gift of Gratitude, I suppose. It's not. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I suppose. It's such a cheap upgrade, and it's in every magic shop, and every time you re-roll, it's a very powerful upgrade. I can see that being good. Using a reform card when there is only one possible target. Oh, that's just quality of life. That's fine. Increased Gorge stat gain for Penumbra's Glutton Path. Well, it was already pretty good, in my opinion. 4 and 2. That's different, right? 9 and 4, 15 and 6. I can't remember how that's different. Increased Gorge stats gain. Well, they're saying it's a buff. 4 and 2? Was it 3? It must have been 3 and 2. I feel like it was... I'll consult an older video. 9 and 4 is great. 15 and 6. This was already extremely good anyway, I thought. Like, if anything, this needs a buff. This was already the one that you were like, yeah, sweet, I'll just go Glutton. Excellent. Cool. Fine. Fine. I'm no expert. Increased stats of Solgard's Titan channel path at level 1. Oh, thank Christ. Decreased shard requirement at level 2. This was a nightmare, right? I hated Titan channel for that exact reason. Is that it needed like 12 in count to turn it on at stage 2. It was like, I went 4, 12, 15, and it was a total frickin' nightmare. Wow, can't even show you because I don't ever take it, because it's bad. Wow, I can't even show you. It just says that. I don't know how to show you. Let me see what I can do. Increase stats of Solgard's Titan channel path. Oh, I increased the stats at level 1, did it? To what exactly? 45, 40. It was 40, 40, wasn't it? Was it? Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was. It says it's reduced it at level 2, but it doesn't say anything about level 3, so it would still be 4 something and then 15. It needs to be like 9, really, so that it's 5 extra for level 2 and then 6 extra for level 3. That sounds about plausible. Yeah, but decrease shard requirement level 2, even though I don't know exactly what it is. If it's 11, I'll be upset. If it's 10, I will be even more upset. Like 11 is just a troll, but 10 is just like, you don't know what you're doing. I'm sure it's not 10. I'm sure it's either 8 or 9. Hallowed Drippings burnout increased from 3 to 5. Hallowed Drippings was the one that's not very good anyway, right? It's fine. It's fine. I didn't like playing it at 3, but I don't think playing it at 5 makes it any better. It's just not. It's more likely now that if you get this in your starter deck with Melting, that you don't just ignore it completely because you don't want to give your Train Stewards 3 burnout, but you might say giving them 5 burnout is fine. Oh, apply burnout to friendly burnout. I'm getting that mixed up with the one that just applies burnout to them anyway. Just applies burnout regardless. Which one's that? Purifying Cleanse, that's the one. Yeah, that's fine. If they're looking at the stats and they're saying people don't play this, it's not because it needed a buff. It's because it's just not a very useful card. It just doesn't have that much utility. And that's because Melting is in a weird place. It's very strange, Melting Remnant, is that sometimes you just don't need Burnout and Reform. You just do something else. These are the 10 cards that say Burnout printed on them in the whole game. It's quite easy to just not do that. You know? Like these, if they say they say Burnout on them, but sometimes you just so you don't take Wax and Spike if you're, you don't take Wax and Spike anyway because applying Burnout 1 is just there. These you can't avoid having half the time. This you don't take because Burnout 2 is not very good to apply to a unit that hasn't already got Burnout. You take Lady of the Reformed if you're playing like Burnout Rector or you start with 2 drafts or something. I've never respected Paraffin Enforcer. I don't take Lady of the House that often. You take Wickless Recruitment if you have Burnout Rector. And Wicklash, I generally just start with a Wicklash if I ever play it. Reform is a better mechanic than Burnout. I was going to say, why does Reform show up on this card? It doesn't say Reform on it, and then it's Lady of the Reformed. Yeah. It's weird. Melting Remnant is a weird class. It's in a weird place. I don't feel particularly good about often taking a pure burnout reform strategy, unless it's just all in on Little Fade. But that's a whole different question for another time. Purifying Cleanse from 10 to 20. Again, it's not that that card didn't need... It's not that no one's playing that card because it needed a buff. It's because you don't really want to apply Burnout 2. You could say healing up to 100 and you still wouldn't really care. I guess it's more likely... It's better to have utility now on something like you could put Holdover on it and play it on Lady of the Reformed or Lady of the House, I suppose, in a weird incant deck as well. Whiplash attack buffed. I mean, yeah, Whiplash going from 5 to 10 is a bit more relevant. I think these are just straight buffs to the Burnout Rector path, more than anything. It's quite clever, really, because you don't... When you're playing the Little Fade path, you want the exact opposite of that. Because Little Fade wants to die over and over again, and if you take the non-endless path, then she has lots of burnout, but you don't often want to apply that. You don't want to extend Little Fade's burnout for that reason. Why is it? Wow, I just never... What's going on here? Oh, this is because this is my... It's not carried my save file over. This is my save file from when I was last in the public test train, not my current live save file. That's why. I was like, I'm pretty sure I have played Wilderton quite a lot. Thank you very much. Yeah, if you play this one, then you're already applying burnout to the units on the floor, but you can at least give them more burnout and heal them with the Whiplash and the Purifying Cleanse and stuff. This one, I can see why you'd want to extend the burnout, but often she'll just die before that becomes relevant, and the burnout naturally extends because you reform her anyway, and this one has Endless on, so it's pretty pointless. Perils of Production Rage increased to... Oh, Perils, that needed a buff, didn't it? Yeah. No one plays Perils enough. That's sarcasm, by the way. This card is very good anyway. Like, if it said 0 cost Ember Drain 2 but gain 3, it would still see as much play. The Rage is just sort of like a happy bonus. I wonder why that got a buff. I think it's probably maybe that newer players aren't playing it as often, and they can see in the stats that new players are going, Ember Drain 2 though, that's a bit of a bait. Whereas it's the exact opposite of a bait. It's good bait, whatever that means. It's like you're getting caught by a fisherman who's actually just going to be treating you right. Railbeater's armor bonus increased from 25 to 30. Still never going to... Oh, no, Railbeater's the okay one, isn't it? Steelworker that's the terrible one. Oh no, Railbeater is the bad one. Yeah, no, that's not going to change my opinion on that at all. 5 extra armor, whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-flippin-doo. Nope. Next. Mollusk Mage stats changed to a 5/3 with plus 8 magic power. I know somebody who will be very happy about that. But that person is not me. Cull Hex stats changed to 5/3. That's the one that freezes a card randomly, right? A random card in your hand. Wow, now it's 5/3 instead of whatever it was before. Was it 1/1 or something offensive? Sure, whatever. Preserved Thorns Ember cost. Ooh, an actual nerf. An actual nerf to a good card. Yeah, I can see why, to be honest with you. Like, playing this for 0, and then getting 3 0-cost spells out of it. Like, this card is just 4 incants for 0 energy, and then 30 damage, and then draw +3 next turn. It's crazy. It's crazy good. In the right deck, it's just insane. So I guess giving this a +1 means that you can remove Consume and then give it a -1, and it will still cost 1. I suppose is the main issue with that nerf. You can't double stack this, right? You can't get 6 stings. Pretty sure you can't. Pretty sure I've never ever seen that happen. Yeah, I suppose. Like, I'd still take it, and I'd just throw it at -1 and be done with it. Probably wouldn't even worry about throwing it at -1, to be honest with you. I'd just take it for 1 energy and be like, sweet, thanks. Various engine. Oh, improved load times, thanks. I removed erroneous enhanced tooltip from Bone Rattler, thanks. Clarify that Endless works on Eaton units too. Wow, there we go. Nothing horrendously game changing. Nothing that's gonna. Important that they didn't touch Seraph the Patient, which I think is interesting because a lot of people don't like Seraph the Patient, and I don't really think it's that much of a problem anymore. I used to really really not like it. Used to think, oh god, here we go. But there's lots of things you can do about it, and the fact that it's not a multi-strike unit, a multi-strike boss, makes it a lot easier in some ways. You can plan around it, basically. I don't know what you do about planning around it in some decks, like Awoken, heavy Awoken base decks are a bit of a problem, but literally every other class, you can put an imp in front, you can put a Morsel in front, you can reform you can just reform your units that you're worried about dying, and you've got silence in Stygian, so it's really only Awoken that doesn't have a solid answer, but Awoken does have Descend. It's Descend and Restore Health, isn't it? I can't spell, of course. Yeah. If you're Awoken, then you kind of just have to rely on the answer that your secondary clan has. I think the worst for that is probably Awoken Melting in that regard. But Awoken Melting is painfully difficult anyway. Oh, look at all this Molo Covenant achievements. Babby's first Vibio James. I don't know if that's necessarily true. Awoken Remnant being the hardest, one of the hardest clan combos. I'm not sure that that's true. I just pulled that fact out of thin air. But it feels like they're two classes that don't really have much synergy. Like Regen and Burnout. Ugh. Spikes and Burnout, maybe. So, not a massive sea change to the game. I was maybe hoping in the back of my mind that there might be something that's like, whoa, this changes everything. But this really doesn't change that much, in my opinion. Like, buffs are interesting, because a lot of stuff, as I said, like, if stuff is being buffed, it's presumably because they're looking at the stats and going, people aren't taking these cards, but they're not. People aren't taking Hallowed Drippings and Purifying Cleanse because they just don't do much in a lot of melting plans, in my opinion. They just like need straight reworks more than anything. But maybe I'm wrong. I'm often wrong, to be fair. A Purifying Cleanse, like a healing card that goes from 10 to 20. Like a 20 healing card that costs 1, right? Doesn't cost 0. That would be mad. Oh, it does cost 0. It does cost 0. Yeah, I mean, I guess a healing card is. There's not many healing cards in the game, really. And a lot of them are Awoken, of course. Shadow Eater heals itself, Purifying Cleanse. And then Lifesteal is obviously a healing mechanic that won't show up here. Bone Shine doesn't count. Maybe there's something else I'm forgetting. Glimmer. That Glimmer was on that last list, I'm almost certain. I don't think that I'd be more likely to do a holdover purifying cleanse on an incant unit now, more chance now than I was before. Well, obviously there is more chance. There is a non-zero amount of chance that I will do that more than the amount that I was doing it before, which was almost certainly zero. I do like the Wicklash attack buff, to be fair. There's so many moving pieces with this, with Burnout and Reform and stuff, and it's so difficult to get it all right. You know, like if you have Melting and you start with like a Draff and a Wicklash, that's really good. But it's hard to take a Wicklash going, oh, I'll find a Draff, or it's hard to take a Draff hoping that you'll see Wicklash. But, you know, there are other options, of course. You could multi-strike a Lady of the Reformed, or something like that, or the Rage Burnout one, I suppose, is more likely to be facilitated by that. This is so offensively bad of a buff that it doesn't even warrant talking about. Like, what does this do? 5 extra armor? Like, what? Why? Why, though? Like, what does that achieve for anybody? Wow, now it has 10 health and 30 armor, putting it on 40 total health. Like, 40 instead of 35? I suppose that technically gives it 1 extra round against Daedalus's 9 attack. But it doesn't give it an extra round against Talos' 7. And then after that, Railbeat is just going to be eating dirt anyway, because he's just got 30 armor and 10 health with no like inherent scaling or anything. Like, it's such a bad card. He's got to be at the front so that you make use of the strike, but he's got no stats to back that up at all. I'd like Railbeater and Steelworker to just be a bit more interesting. I'd like them both to have an effect. I'd like them both to have Resolve gain 5, but for them both to have an effect that was like, yeah. Steelworker is infinitely better, and presumably, again, they're looking at the pick rates of these cards and going, no one's taking Railbeater, let's give it a buff. And somebody rolled a dice and went, 5! And they went, yeah, sweet. Pack it up. We're done. I'm being flippant, of course, like I'm complaining. I'm not really complaining. Like, this doesn't change anything about how I'm going to play the game, really, going forwards, except I might be less upset if I have to choose between Titan Channel and Revenge Frost Channel, whatever that's called. Frostbite Channel? Cold Channel, that's the one. If I have to choose between Titan Channel and Cold Channel, I might be less upset rather than just instantly wanting to quit the run. But without seeing that second number, I'm not entirely sure. But I'm sure it'll be 8 or 9. I'm sure of it. That is the most sensible number. Right, so there we go. That's how I feel about this patch. When am I going to start recording episodes again? I don't know. Probably not on the public test train, unless they make even more changes. So probably not at least until this patch drops on October the 22nd. And then maybe I'll play with mods or something, make it exciting. I'll be interested to see what the community does with mods to make the game slightly harder. I know I don't win very much anyway, but I have very, very slowly fallen into the party of Covenant 25. The game's difficulty could be higher. But I'm struggling to work out how the difficulty could be higher without just introducing a whole lot of randomness, or, oh, well, it's the boss that we can't beat, so we lose. You know? It's very hard to say, oh, just give Crystal Cloak 4 more stacks of stealth without going, yeah, but there's a lot of decks that just beats hands down regardless of whatever the hell you do. And there's a lot, you know? It's like, the game is balanced. I do find the game to be quite balanced, but there's also, it's very, very finely tuned to the point where, like, small changes like that. I've been thinking in my mind about how you can introduce more Covenant levels, and I'm not sure if you'd want to introduce more Covenant levels or just squish them down and still make Covenant 25 the highest, but make some of these, you know, a little bit more. Like, do we need 2 separate deadweight Covenants? Could we have Covenant 2 just get removed and make Covenant 17 add 2 deadweights to your starting deck, and then just put another Covenant in the middle somewhere that does something else? Like, ideas I had were like, you can't see the boss before. So at the start of the run, you can only see up to Daedalus or Talos, and you can only see what version of that fight it is. And it's only when you get past Circle 3 that you can see the Circle 5 boss and what it does, and it's only after Circle 5 that you can see the Seraph. It sounds incredibly punishing, to be fair, because there are a lot of decisions you have to make quite early on based on what Seraph is. But it could work for Daedalus, Talos, Arcus, and Fel, I guess. Maybe. But maybe not. Like, maybe not. Another one I thought of was that the reroll in the shops only rerolls unpurchased items. So if you purchase the Emberstone and then press reroll, it won't give you another Emberstone. It will just leave that space blank because you bought it already. Which doesn't introduce more randomness, because if you buy the multi-strike, then that's because you wanted the multi-strike, but if the multi-strike is not what you want, and you re-roll it, then that's fine, right? But it just stops you from going into a magic shop with like 300 gold and going -1 +10 holdover, re-roll -1 +10 permafrost or something. Like, that's insanely good, almost too good, unfairly good. But yeah, I mean, I'm no game designer. I was just thinking about this the other day while I was bored. Or some other things like that. You could increase the gold costs of things, I suppose, but again, it's such a fine line, and you snowball already. Like, if the first 2 trials are money, then you're kind of just fine. If the first 2 trials aren't money, or you can't take them, and the merchants are more expensive, it doesn't really affect you in any way. Hellvents could just go, to be fair. Like, one of the covenants could just be there's no Hellvents. Like, you can't just duplicate cards for free. Like, that's crazy. Or, like, maybe make it cost 100 gold or something. Duplicating a card for free is so insanely powerful. It's so strong. Or you could make it cost, like, the value of the upgrades on it. So if you've put a -1 holdover on it, it charges you for what you paid. Like, Hellvents are bonkers good. They're silly good. You could make Pyre Remains only heal 15, I suppose. Pyre Remains aren't that good anyway. It's not very often that the 20 damage you get from one makes or breaks your run. It's more just they're on the side of the tracks that you wanted to go to anyway, so you click it, because why wouldn't you click it? I don't think you could increase the stats of enemies and bosses. It's already quite tightly balanced in that regard. I think you'd have to be looking at high level changes to just the flow of the game. So yeah, that's another thing. I'm interested to see what the community does in terms of mod support for making the game possibly slightly harder. I don't know what that means for me, because I'm not very, I play Covenant 25, but apparently I'm on a 5-win streak. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, it's because this is my old file, isn't it? Yeah, that I haven't played since the 31st of August. Well, I only played 8 runs in the public test train. Anyway, yeah, so I will be back. So if you want to, you could check out the older videos. They're all still up to date. They're all still the current patch if you wanted to have a look. If you're new to Monster Train or the channel or anything. Other than that, I suppose I'll be back on the 22nd of October for more fresh Monster Train. And we'll find Bone Dog and stuff like that. Other than that, I guess, thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and all that jazz. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.